Hello, people. My name is Mohini Dey, and you're watching my brand new talk show, What a Melophile Wants. Today, I have an extremely special guest who has been in the music industry professionally working for the past 50 years. Can you believe? He's known as the Magic Fingers, the Wizard, the keyboard wizard, and the Titan. He is an American keyboardist and a composer, and best known as the member of progressive metal band Dream Theater and the supergroup Liquid Tension Experiment. He's not only someone I know and I have worked with, but he's someone who is dearly loved by millions and millions of people from all around the world. Please welcome the one and only Jordan Rudess. Awesome. How does it feel, Jordan, first of all? Like, did you ever think this was gonna ever happen, like me interviewing you?
Well, first of all, thank you for that lovely introduction. That was so nice.
I hope I did well.
You did great. Happy to be here with you.
Thank
And
you. I'm so happy to have you.
yeah, thank you. So, yeah, it's such a strange time, right? It's so crazy.
I know, and it's been such a long time since we actually spoke.
It has been a while. That's right.
When was the last time we actually met?
I don't know, maybe what was that, a couple of years ago, or when we did
I think a year ago. I think a year ago.
whatever it was. It was too
It was
long
in
ago.
LA.
Yeah, it was too long ago, and we need to do some more stuff together.
I know, right? We should do that
Right?
soon.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, I see you
Okay.
have your equipment over there, so we could do some online stuff. You're all set. You're all ready.
Absolutely. Let's do it. I'm up. I'm in.
Cool. All right.
Okay. So my first question to you, Jordan, is what was that first big thing that happened to you in your career?
Well, my professional career started pretty early because I was studying classical music. I was going to Juilliard.
Right.
And
I was gonna come to that, but good that you already.
I guess, the first really professional thing that happened was one day some marketing people came into the Juilliard school and they were looking for a young person who was very like dramatic and showy to play the piano in a television commercial. And
Oh,
so
wow.
they thought of me because in those days I actually had a bunch of hair and it was always with waves and the whole thing, and I was just
Really?
a
Wow.
young protege.
I
So
thought I was the only one doing stuff with my hair.
Right. So they thought of me when they went to the school because I had this certain kind of a look. And it was funny because I went to audition at this marketing agency for a commercial. I didn't even know what it was. But I walked into the room and there were about 70 different kids there, all about 13 years old. But I was like one of two people from music school. The rest of them were child actors. I was like 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
So the rest of them were child actors, right?
Wow.
Because the whole thing was they wanted somebody to play this 30-second version of the Grieg piano concerto, which is like dun 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 dun, but do the whole thing. Right? So I went in there and I did it, and I was very dramatic. So I got the job, and they figured I could play it as well. So they didn't have somebody else play. So that was like my first really like professional situation, because then I had to go into Media Sound, which is no longer around. It was a big studio in New York City.
That was like your first performance.
It was my first big kind of, professional experience.
Step into the industry, I guess.
Yeah, one day was recording the piano track, and the next day was filming at the Plaza Grand Ballroom at their 9-foot Steinway, wearing tails and a Band-Aid on my finger.
That's quite a big thing to start with, though, I must say.
It's a fun memory, and it's actually on. People can see it on YouTube. The clip is there. You have to research. You just have to look up Jordan Rudess
We'll put up the link.
Band-Aid commercial.
Band-Aid commercial. Wow.
I had a Band-Aid on my finger.
Oh, cool.
Playing, and at the end there's a big glissando which kind of comes into the camera, and the band is there. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's nice. Wow. Okay, so now let's start with talking about your sound, because I find your sound very, very unique, and I wanted to ask you this from a very long time, but never got an opportunity to, because we don't even like. A lot of my listeners started messaging me like, what do you actually talk about when you're making music? I'm like, random things. Like we every time we make music, I don't even remember talking about music that much. We just play.
That's right.
I
Totally.
know, right? And we're
That's
just
right.
making jokes around like us, some things going around us and
Right.
stuff, you know?
Right. Just hanging
Right?
out, people.
I
Right.
know, yeah. So I've been meaning to ask you this question. I want to know, how did you build your sound, and what inspired you to get the sound you have?
Okay. But by sound, do you mean the style of playing, or do you mean a particular timbre, like I'm a synthesizer?
The tonality, and everybody has a different kind of vibe. You could call it style. You could call it
Okay,
style.
just to make sure I
Yeah,
understand what you mean. So
yeah.
for me, the whole thing was my very particular kind of fusion of the elements that go into my head. Like I'm a person that was never really very interested in like copying or learning other people's music, but what I was really interested in is understanding what makes it tick.
Right.
So, whether it's Bach and understanding the counterpoint and kind of how does this all come together, or it's uh, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and looking at Keith Emerson and the way he used a lot of, four intervals of fourths and things like that to make a certain kind of a sound, or
Mhm.
Coldplay to like, why does that song feel that way? Why does it sound that way? So I've always been
Studying that.
a,
Yeah.
a hunter to say, let me
Right.
understand the way that ticks. And so I had a
Mhm.
great teacher back in the Juilliard days who was a little bit outside the box. And he would
Right.
play me something like every week. He played me like one week was like a Beatles thing. The next
Mhm.
week was like a Stravinsky thing. And he would turn me
Mhm.
on to it. And then it was my assignment to write something using that inspiration.
Right.
So I found that to be incredibly opening, like to hear all these different things, whether it's Chick Corea or Stravinsky or Bach or the Beatles or whatever, and just to have to like look in and go, okay, well, what about that can I grab, and then how can I compose using something about that style? So I feel like that particular, like fusion of
Infusion.
elements became kind of
Mm.
like who I am, and then I'm always building on it. That's why I love doing projects like with you, doing people who are from
Yeah.
other cultures that can bring in things that I don't know as well. But I can be like a sponge, and I'm go, okay, like
Mhm.
show me, like like teach.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's
Right.
all about, like if we stay lost
Yeah. Be
in our own
open. Be
world.
open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Always
that's as
look.
musicians, so
Yeah.
we have to have antennas
Same.
on our head and listen and have it go through our mind to our fingers and make things happen. So
Totally.
my sound is very much, about that.
Yeah, that's really nice to know how you build your sound, and how your style comes from, where it comes from, and where you get the inspiration from. A lot of people come up to me and they ask me, like, they're struggling to find their sound, or they're if I may say, like, if I'm talking, this is my tonality of my voice, right? Most people have uh, go through huge struggle finding that sound, finding the right kind of brilliance, or right kind of low end. Everybody's preference is different. Like, I like more mid lows, and a little bit more of more than the mid lows. I would like a little bit more mid highs on my bass when I'm playing the bass. That's my tone, and I like a little less than mid lows. I'd like my gain to be
Right.
like mid lows to be 50%, and then mid highs to be like 80%, and then gain to be like maybe 40%.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's my sound. Everybody has to kind of play around with
sure.
equalize EQs,
Yeah,
frequencies,
yeah,
dynamics. Intonation plays a big part in this.
yeah.
So a lot of people come up to me and they ask me, how do I find my sound? Like, you shared your journey, how you got your inspiration from, where you started building, and you're still building. It never stops, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want you to tell my listeners, how does a musician discover or create his or her style of playing? What are the possibilities that one can apply to achieve?
Well, it's an interesting thing because we started talking about the sound as related to style, and then now we're
Yeah.
talking about like you were expressing how you kind of perceive like your sound when you play your instrument, and
Yeah,
so
we're building a
well,
story now, so
yeah,
yeah.
I want to follow through with that concept because then my stylistic personal stylistic fusion also relates to the kind of timbres that I use. And as a keyboardist and a pianist, there's I definitely have certain timbres that allow me to feel like I'm expressing and be heard as well. Although as a synthesist and somebody who's on a constant sonic journey in a lot of different ways, I'm exploring and going down different avenues, different sonic avenues. They could be all different, but I have certain signature sounds, like my piano sound. Like if I'm playing piano, I want a piano that is not too like bright. I don't want it to be harsh.
That's your sound.
I don't play like a rock piano, like,
right.
Or if I want to express myself, I want a piano that is velvety, smooth. It's more bell-like tone. Usually, I'm more.
It's like the perfect amount of grittiness, I would say.
Right. You got to find. Everybody's got to find.
It's crispy. It's crispy.
So, like, of course, it depends what you're playing. But like I spent a long time searching for the Steinway piano that I have here in my house, that's sitting right next to me. And that was an amazing search, because finally when I found it, I sat down on a piano and my hands must have gone like halfway down the keys. And I like knew even before I think the hammers hit the string that this was the instrument for me. But it was this velvety, smooth, bell-like, beautiful tone. But it also spoke. It also had life to it. It wasn't so dull. So that's an interesting thing. So that's what I like there. But then like one of my signature sounds is like my lead tone. Like I get, a lot of people asking me to play on albums, whatever, and they're pretty much asking me to do like the Jordan Rudess, lead, which is of course a combination of the way that I play it, but it's sonically it lends itself to be played in a certain way, and that particular tone is very like aggressive and very driving. It's very forward. It can cut through a mix, and it has like ability to kind of feedback in a keyboard kind of a way, but it has a lot of control over kind of morphing the sound and doing like really cool things with it.
You're into that kind of stuff.
I'm really into it. Yeah. So my lead has to be like, like I'll play it on my chord Kronos, and like my pinky kind of like goes down on a ribbon while I'm moving the pitch, and it's a joystick, so I can add like the Y direction and the pitch and the.
So that's quite a stretch.
Subs, it's a whole thing that goes on.
Yeah, that's quite a stretch though. Big gap, huh?
It makes it really speak though. It makes it come alive. But that's the thing. Like you think about the magic of a great guitarist, and a lot of our favorite guitar players. It's almost like they're controlling a wild beast. True. It's literally like that's part of the magic of it, that you feel like this thing could totally go out of control, but it's in the hands of somebody who knows how to like tame it. So to me, my rock sounds have to be a little bit like that. Like if you didn't know what to do, it would like go completely out of control.
You're the brain of it. You're the brain of it. Right.
I'm sure the
That's
same.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure the same holds. I'm sure the same holds true when you're playing a aggressive kind of bass thing, rocking, and you're like, okay, well I got to control this, because if I don't, things are all the notes are going to sound.
Because then it's going to blow up. Yeah, it's going to blow up because it's an electric instrument. Don't forget that, because a lot of people come up to me and it's like, how do you actually control? I'm like, your control is actually in your fingers.
Right.
It's not the volume. It's not the knob. That's not controlling the volume. It's actually your hands.
Yeah, so you got to be muting properly when you play one note, mute the other.
Yeah, it's the touch.
Yeah.
How hard you're doing it, how soft you're doing it, it's all under control. It's in your hands.
Right. So I try to kind of like emulate, if you will, or create, I should say, that experience on the keyboard when I'm rocking out in like with lead.
I hear it. Yeah.
Cool.
That's very cool. Let me see. What is the next question I can ask you? Because you've answered quite some of them that have already. Yeah.
All right. I'm ahead of the game.
Okay. This question is good. A lot of times when I teach people, a lot of kids also actually, and speaking of kids, I'm a kid too, I know, but let's not laugh about that. In my workshops and master classes, there are a lot of Western classical trained musicians, or sometimes in few cases still studying, but they would come up to me and tell me that they have a hard time improvising or soloing in other genres apart from Western classical. They say that there are a lot of rules in there. So my question to you is, did you face this kind of difficulty? If yes, then how did you overcome it?
Well, for me, I've always been an improviser, even when I was like
So even
starting
when you're
out.
a teacher, but you're classically trained,
Yeah, so what
right?
happened, yeah, so it's actually an interesting kind of like thing because when I first went, like my first lesson at Juilliard, this is give you a good example of my particular
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. I want to know
I,
the story.
I had to learn the little Bach C major prelude. And then I spent whatever it was, a week or 2 weeks studying it, and then I had to play it for my teacher. Well, I would just enjoy playing some of the notes on the page and then making up some of my own notes because I just thought to me, that's what
Oh
making
my
music
God.
was. Nobody ever told me I
Yeah,
couldn't. Luckily,
right.
my first teacher, one of these guys who came around to the house for half an hour, and was that kind of like simple local teacher. He
Hmm.
quickly realized that I had a really good ear, so he threw away the book, the little red book. He threw it away,
Oh,
and he taught me all the chords. He said, "Here's C, here's
wow.
D, here's E." So I was just enjoying playing. But
Hmm.
then when my parents realized that I had some talent, they thought, "Oh, we need to send him to a real teacher." So I went to this Hungarian woman whose name was Magda, and she taught me to play, the real thing and the scales and arpeggios, and would
Right.
kick me under the, piano bit if I did the wrong thing. She was very wonderful person, but very temperamental and intense.
Right.
So I had to be kind of like honed in, if you will, to kind of stop improvising. My teacher literally
Oh.
said, my teacher wasn't that happy my Juilliard teacher wasn't very happy when I would do that. She was like, no, 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 you have to read the page. You have to look at the music. That's not what it says. Because when I wasn't sure what it said, I'd play what I thought should go there.
What
So
you
I
felt.
learned that.
You wanted to go out.
Yeah. So then I would literally, in my Juilliard days, like bring the other students to the practice rooms way at the end of the hallway and play some boogie woogie for them and play blues and play some
Oh my
jazz
God.
things, and everybody would smile, and then we'd walk out, and everybody would be really straight again. So,
Right.
but improvisation, I've always had a really um, comfortable relationship with improvisation. It's always been like one of my main joys in music. Like I do something now every day at 4 o'clock as part of this crazy time that we're in, and I'm playing on Facebook Live every day at 4 o'clock.
Right, I see. I've seen you.
And
Yeah.
about 95% of what I play is totally off the top of my head. Like all of it.
Right.
Occasionally I'll go into playing some songs, but I just, for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you, it's like, we have these words, like we learn how to speak with our instrument, and it's phrases, it's melodic structures, but
Yeah, it becomes this muscle memory. Yeah.
it's no different to playing music and making up music on the spot. It's no different to me than having this conversation with you,
Absolutely.
because
That's so true.
I don't know what I'm going to say next, but somehow these words are coming
Exactly.
out and it's happening. And what's the difference if I go and da 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 da? It's like
And
just
yeah, even when we're talking, we're still improvising. It may not sound the same the other time, whatever I'm saying right now, the next time I
right,
say it, the sentence might sound different.
because we're not
So
reading the script.
the ability of using different words, and then maybe my mistake using a word that you didn't tend to, and then improvising and
Yeah,
modifying it and make it sound and have the same meaning. That's what even music is, right?
totally. I mean, and in the English or whatever language, you're learning words. You're learning words that can express. In music,
Right.
you're learning chords that go together that can express it. And like for somebody who has like, perfect pitch. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a certain kind
Do
of
you?
translation. I do, yeah.
Oh,
But that's a
wow.
certain kind of
I know.
translation from your mind's musical, space to your hands. If you hear something, da 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 da, you know where the notes are right away.
Uh-huh.
But for those people who have relative pitch, it kind of works in a similar way. You just don't
Right.
necessarily know the start.
Right.
But some people who, like, I've worked with people who don't necessarily even have a perfect relative pitch, and they're still amazing musicians. And the
Right.
reason that I think the reason it can happen that way is because these people learn a vocabulary. Let's call him Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo has played from a 1 chord to a 5 chord to a 6 chord so many times that when he's
Right.
playing, he knows in his head what that's gonna sound like, right?
Right.
He just
Mm-hmm.
knows. He's played that pattern so many times that he knows that. I mean, maybe a
Yeah,
little
he
bit.
may not know what the note is, but he knows what it sounds like.
He or a guitar player knows to go into this shape. Like,
Mm.
I'm sure that your brain as a bass guitarist thinks also in shapes, as well
in
as with
shapes.
your ear.
Yeah. Hmm.
Guitarists, I think, very much more in shapes than keyboardists, because
Totally.
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 But to understand that shape, and you can apply that shape anywhere. So that's another way. So it's like learning, putting together that vocabulary, I think, is really
True.
what
True.
improvising is about. But for me, it's like, that's like, I love that probably more than anything else that I
So
do.
you break. So to answer this question, you would say you break rules. You don't really follow any rules.
Yeah, well, totally. I'm just making it up as I go.
I know. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because a lot of people come up to me and they would ask me the same question, saying, "Are there any rules to follow in music?" I'm like, I don't know. If there were, I wouldn't follow.
Well, like all of us, we learn stuff like a lot of, like, now things just can flow out. They're just
Yeah.
really easy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate to this, but people say, like, how do you do that? That seems so hard. And I'm like, well, you know what? If I were really to think about this would absolutely not happen. Like if I'm doing an
True. So
ostinato
true.
line, repeated line, and I'm playing,
Yeah.
just improvise and talking to you at the
Or
same time.
even, for example, even speed, right? How do you get that speed? I
Speed.
don't know, it just naturally happens. That's what I answer because
Right.
I've just been playing all my life, and I guess that's how it happens. Keep practicing.
Yeah, and if you try to push really hard and try to make it happen, it's likely that you'll get tense and it won't happen. But if
It
you
won't happen.
breathe and go, blah, 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 it
But
just,
for me, in my case, I never really thought about speed ever. Until this song came to me. Gorgo Borlight, the drummer.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was this video that went viral, this song that we worked on together, and it's called Day by Day, and it went viral, and it's very fast. I don't remember what the tempo was, but it was extremely fast. It was like the first times that I ever played that fast, and I didn't even know I could play that fast. But when I heard the song, I was like, wow, I don't know if I can do that because it's really fast. I've never
Yeah,
done that before.
right,
But when I
right.
actually started playing, it felt like, oh, I guess I've done this before.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
totally. What's interesting also is that I think a lot of people, when they hear, professional players play music, and because it's music, they think it's almost like magic, and it is magic in a way. But what's not magic is they don't realize the focus that it takes to build up to the point of being able to have it flow.
Totally. So
Like
true.
all,
I totally agree. Yeah.
yeah, like all the work, all the hours that I spent
Yeah.
as a young person sitting
The
there practicing.
foundation is what matters.
Yeah,
At the
and
end of the day, that's everything.
right. And it takes, and I also don't think that people realize, although at some point they learn, that if you want to get good at anything, it takes so much patience.
So true. So true.
Yeah, if you're playing something that's a hard phrase, if somebody puts something in front of me that I haven't played before, or if I'm looking at a piece by Franz Liszt or something like that,
Mhm.
not just going to sit there and go blah, 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 blah. I'm going to, what the hell
Yeah.
are those notes? And it's going to
Yeah.
take, maybe try the right hand alone, slower.
Yeah.
Get it? Okay, now try the left hand. Then an hour later, or the next day, okay, let's see if I can put it together.
Right.
It takes a lot of work, and
It
anything
takes.
does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about my song. How did it all start, and what do you think about the song? How do you feel about it?
I was the song that I played on for you.
Yeah.
Did it come out yet?
No, 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 not yet, not yet.
Not yet. Oh wow.
Yeah, but this is gonna be the first time people are gonna hear about it.
Oh
So
wow. Oh, that's awesome. No, I had such a good time because you a lot of people just say, Jordan, just play like a solo, on this. And a lot of times that's actually all I'll even offer to do because I'm busy and working on my
right,
own
right.
stuff. But
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
came to me with your track, it was more like, okay, well, this is, you can go this direction here,
Yeah,
and you
I
have
like
to.
challenging people because I love challenges, and I just wanted to have you do something that I've never heard before. Like I know what you play, but I know you would sound so cool with this kind of setup, like
Yeah, yeah,
having Steve Vai on guitar, myself singing and playing, and then Dallas horns. It's just something that people would never imagine coming together. You
yeah, yeah.
know?
Very cool fusion, that track. It really, really
Yeah.
did. And I just enjoyed coloring it. Being
Right.
in the
Right.
studio, I love to be in front of my palette of sonic colors.
You sound amazing. You sound incredible. I love it so much. It sounds great. And what do you think about the song? Like, how do you feel about the song?
I think it's really cool. I'm so excited in a way that it hasn't come out, because now when it does, I feel like, oh, good, I can still help you kind of push the song
Right,
out the door.
right.
But I thought, and I was interested in that stylistic fusion coming from you, because I didn't know.
Yeah, nobody has ever heard me in that kind of like funk, like
Yeah, yeah.
popish song, you know?
Right, right. But it was a cool fusion.
Yeah,
So they've
because
never
all
heard
people
me
hear,
doing that. They haven't heard you
right,
doing that.
exactly,
I think people are
exactly.
really in for a big treat. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Enjoyed playing on
yeah,
some.
we're gonna know them. Okay,
Cool.
I think we're towards the last question. And then we're gonna play this like rapid fire for 5 questions. It's gonna be like that. Okay. Okay, so when was the first? This is an audience question, okay?
Yep,
Taken from like the comment section on my YouTube channel.
yep.
When was the first time you heard me play or you heard of me?
Um, it wasn't all that long ago. Might have been around the time that we did that video together. What was the name of that song? When?
Where Mahesh is playing,
Yeah,
Radhavan,
yeah. I'm spacing out.
Arjuna.
We'll have to put a link to that because I can't.
East
Something.
meets West.
Yeah, but no, it's becomes something about becomes day, right? I have to look it up. So I'm spacing out completely.
But
But
I
yeah,
think it
like
sounds.
yeah, I had somebody turned me on to your playing, and I was like, oh my god, I think I was on a tour bus, of course, at
Oh,
that point. And I was like, check out,
wow.
you know,
That's
girl
cool.
playing the bass. Like I was like, oh my god. So yeah, so then we had that idea to put that little video together,
How many
and
years ago was that? Like it was
yeah,
like that just around that time when we did the video.
yeah, probably like about 3 or 4 years ago,
Oh
I would say.
wow.
I'm so curious to find out the name of that song because I can't remember. Um, but yeah, so they turned me on to your playing. I went, I gotta work with this person. That'll be cool. So we put that together, and then of course we got another opportunity to work together with the.
I know, with Deva Bojana. That was
Yeah,
like our first project,
that,
main kind
that
of
was cool, and
project.
that was so quick.
It was so quick. Oh my God. Like one day we did what, 6 songs?
But what was amazing is that we actually got it done. We went into like an alternate universe.
But wasn't it stressful though? Like, whew,
It
it
was
was stressful for me.
it was so intense. Yeah,
Whew.
that song was called "Light Becomes Day."
Yeah, right, right. That's
That-
right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool.
Yeah,
So, and that was
yeah.
all, and that was a kind of originally thought of as almost like a way to market my app GeoShred, right?
Yeah, but the way you play that thing, it's like you've been playing from before you were born. I don't know. It's so
Because
like
it was
easy for you.
it
Oh
was
my
my
God.
it was my invention. Have you heard like some of the Carnatic musicians play
I
GeoShred?
need you to I need you to teach me because I love that kind of stuff,
It's
but I don't know how to do
unbelievable.
it.
It's what people
And
are
I think
doing
I
in it.
can do it because being a bass player, I think my fingers
Oh my
can work
God,
it.
you would be like amazing at it. Like if you have to play it, and
Yeah, we'll do
incredible.
another session with
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
absolutely, totally. But
Yeah.
an amazing player. Like there's people in India specifically that are
I've
playing
seen
video
videos. Yeah.
that are playing it as their main instrument. It is like their
Yeah.
main
Yeah. Yeah.
instrument,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
so like to do all those little
Precise.
pitch things that you guys do.
Yeah.
It's just
And
like, oh my God. I mean, I can't do that, but I'm just like, wow. I'm so glad I
yeah.
invented an instrument that
But
can.
again, like you said, it's the style, like you have different style.
Right, right.
And culture makes such a huge difference because every side story is so different. We're culturally so diverse, and that kind of makes a big impact on the music as well.
Right, right. And the kind of
Yeah.
things that are floating around your brain. Like if you grow up in India and you're around these, classic musicians that play
Yeah.
Carnatic music, it's in there. So like it can come out. And the
Totally.
fact that I had created an instrument that where you can express that kind of blows my mind because I was thinking more like, like leads. Like I wanted to be able to pitch bend to anywhere that I wanted to go,
Right.
play diatonically wherever I want to go. And that ability to go between the fretless world and the diatonic world so easily in
Yeah.
a platform
Wow.
created this kind of monster that now people are doing all these incredible
When
things.
did you actually come up with this idea of making this?
Oh, about like 7, 8 years ago, like
Wow.
a while ago, because it started out, right now it's called GeoShred, but it was called
Yeah, yeah.
Geosynthesizer that had a layout very much like that. But it's been a
Wow.
real, work in progress into something that,
Over time, yeah.
yeah, over time, something that I really, really wanted to do because I felt like there's a lot of power in being able to express.
Totally. Totally.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Cool.
Okay. Okay. One last question and then we'll play this rapid fire. On a bigger picture and on a smaller picture, what do you think a musician actually wants?
I like that question. Okay. I think that musicians are looking for a certain kind of like a tuning, either like, well, I'll talk just personally for a minute. The reason that I play music is because it's the way that it makes me feel and the way that I can make other people feel. So, and it's all about frequency, it's all about vibration. You can call it healing, you can say it's entertainment. It goes in all these kind of modes because you're working with something as large as like
Right.
vibration frequency. So I think a musician is basically looking for connection. It can be, on a, you think about pop music, somebody could be looking for almost like a um, social fashionable like connection, a way to reach out and
Yeah.
talk to or like communicate with certain kinds of crowds to create a vibe, to create something.
Hmm.
You're the band Fish, you're in a movement. It's a whole movement. It's
Right.
a looseness. It's a coolness. It's a culture, and the music kind of expresses that. So I think musicians are looking to create a vibe. They're looking to
Uh-huh.
entertain with their frequencies. They're looking to heal.
I was
Um,
just gonna say heal, yeah.
yeah, I think that's what it's about. That's why we play. We're looking for ways that we can kind of become in tune with our universe, whether it's bringing people in from the outside or literally just creating
That's a
frequency,
great answer.
resonating it,
That's a
resonating
great
with it
answer.
yourself. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Okay, so we're on our rapid fire round now.
All right, I'm ready to
You
go.
need to be like, yeah, I need to be really quick, okay? What would you be if you were not a musician?
uh, um, a graphic artist.
Ooh, yeah, I can see that. Totally. Tell us something personal that the whole world don't know about you.
Oh,
That's
they don't know that I like Barry Manilow.
hilarious. What is the worst compliment you've ever got?
The worst compliment that I've ever got. I hate
Yeah.
when people say you play too many notes. That's
In your face. Get done with it.
right, right.
One thing that annoys you the most.
Oh God, I thought of something terrible. As soon as it's rapid, when you're doing like you're meeting all the fans, and some of the fans really, really are very stinky. It's like that's really
Oh my
annoying.
goodness. So that's really annoying. Okay. The
I
last
probably
one,
wouldn't have
okay?
said that, but it's rapid fire. So the first one,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, sure. The last one, okay? What do you like more? Your beard or keyboard?
You're in the keyboard.
So you can do without this?
Yeah, if I could still play for sure.
But I thought you loved your beard.
I love it, but I just there's priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was really fun. Thank you for coming on my show, and it was an absolute pleasure having you, and so much fun talking to you always.
So nice to be here with you. It's really great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Cool.